Okay, so becoming a certified MIE means that you will have access in the Microsoft Education Center to various courses. Those courses can be individual, or sometimes they set up a learning pathway with a series of linked courses. And today, as I said, you'll get the 1,000 points to become a certified MIE. And then from this, you can choose, if you find out you're using Microsoft Education Center quite a bit, you can choose to do other study. And if you wish to, you could apply to become a certified MIE and then into a Microsoft Innovator Education Expert. That means that you submit an application to Microsoft, show what you're doing with things like Minecraft Education Edition, and then the next round of those applications will be into about May next year if it's something you're interested in. Some people also like to not apply for the MIEE and just become an MIE trainer, which means you work outreach with other schools in your area or like-minded teachers across the UK. So this afternoon session, we will be focusing on why we would use Minecraft Education Edition. We'll have a look at the tech side of it because there's a few bits of preparation that you're well advised to complete before trying to use it with pupils. And then we'll have a look at things like initial building challenges and how that might link out across other areas of learning. So the first thing that I often get asked is just why on earth would I use Minecraft? Because people hear of Minecraft and think of it as something you're going to use on a gaming PC or a console at home, and don't always understand that there's an education specific version which is designed for use in an educational setting that has some of the games element taken out of it, but it isn't so restricted. It's not relevant to trying to use with pupils and get them really grown and into using it to complement traditional teaching methods. That's really important to say here, that there is no emphasis that this should overrule or replace any sort of traditional teaching methods. And I know when I use it for teaching in the classroom, I might use it to deliver something that would have been done traditionally. So if we were looking at hill forts, and maybe I used to set a homework designing a hill fort and building it and then bringing that 3D structure in a couple of weeks later, and then we discussed about the construction and so forth, I might now set it as construct yourself a hill fort in Minecraft, and then we'll share them digitally in the classroom, but also pupils are able to continue doing that, and there's no additional cost to them because the school would provide Minecraft Education Edition. It does very much foster that growth mindset that anything is possible, and that you can strive to be more than you could possibly achieve by using some of the traditional methods, and also it develops that creativity. That real spark occurs when you introduce this to pupils, because all of a sudden, even ones that were sometimes disengaged will suddenly sit up with a glint in their eye and they go, oh, wow, I use this at home, but I've got some familiarity with how the tools work and what I could possibly do. And they suddenly have ideas about how they can create what they'll be asked to do here in this environment. So it might be that in secondary you're looking at plant cells versus animal cells, but instead of making cells models, you actually construct them in Minecraft and you can make sections of the cells work. It does also promote that resilience for things like problem solving and not giving up. The collaboration opportunities are quite far reaching. I've done everything from whole class Minecraft activities, and it is possible, but I wouldn't say that it was something I would tell you to go for straight away. It's better to start with some paired activities, then roll out small group activities, and then you could have a whole class environment where all of the class are in the same single Minecraft environment. That learning that you undertake is deep learning. It's definitely not shallow, but it's also very sticky. Quite often, if I've done something in Minecraft and I talk about it later in the term or the academic year, the pupils will instantly have that recall and they'll go back to saying, oh yeah, I remember when we did that and we built this. And they can recall it in intricate detail, but they can also recall a lot of the associated learning, be it skills-based or knowledge-based, and then bring that forwards into the current context of what we're doing in class at that point. So that sticky learning is a massive plus point. It really does work. We will discuss later on what the 6 principles are in Minecraft. So the first thing is, well, gamification versus game-based learning. So gamification is where you just add in elements of gaming as maybe golden time reward, or say, look, you can have some extra time on a particular app because you've done really well in the other work I was asking you to do. And Minecraft is not that. It is not reward time. It is game-based learning. And in that, you are going to bring them into a three-dimensional environment. They'll be completely immersed in that environment. And as we said before, it won't be that it's just a nice little stroll around and we'll mess around with some friends in there. Some of the aggressive elements and the destructive elements that you'd find in traditional Minecraft are removed from the Education Edition, and it's very much in fostering that community, that building, that contributing, that being open to others' ideas, in making people persistent in spending that time to build that environment. And it does pay off because the pupils are respectful of each other's environments. And you may get the odd occasion where somebody decides to take down a wall, or it isn't helpful in what they're doing. But usually you've got a good route to just discuss that with the people, whether it's face-to-face or you're working through distance learning currently, and then get them back in. And I've had that previously where somebody has been slightly destructive and they've destroyed part of a structure or something that somebody's built, but being able to turn that around to the fact where they've paid it back. I call it community service, where they've gone in and they've repaired it and they've contributed it, but they've also come up with an idea that could contribute to make it even better with what the person started with originally. So the 6 principles that I discussed previously for Minecraft are the ones on the screen. You are going to fail often and you're going to fail easily, particularly when you start out on this whole journey. It's not a perfect skill set straight away, and you have to be that part of growth mindset and resilience is that you have to be prepared to get it wrong more than you get it right, particularly at the start. Yes, they will have experience of using Minecraft, the traditional version, not the education version, and they can bring that in. But it won't necessarily be all of that transfers across, and they may have to provide some actual prior learning or some additional knowledge they've got from outside of Minecraft. So a classic example, we'll look at it later, is that you might be looking at bridge building, and you might even be having a cross-curricular project where that links into maths, and you're looking at shapes and structures and so forth. And you wouldn't start with Minecraft at all. You would start with very traditional methods. It might be some book-based research, some sketching out bridge designs on paper, some drawing shapes on squared paper to work out how they tessellate and how that could build a wider structure. And then you might come onto some planning in groups, but again, nothing to do with Minecraft. It could be that you use some internet research, but you just don't know. And that would then, at the end of the project, maybe build into spending a couple of 3 lessons in Minecraft and then recreating all that building that you've researched, that bridge, but using it to actually construct the real thing in a virtual environment. The construction dynamic is something that does really matter. They will learn that it's not quick and easy, and you can't just suddenly click your fingers in one lesson. You've always got a pleasing finished project. You will have to spend time, and you will have to go and reevaluate and replan. So you might need to break out from the Minecraft element, go back and do a bit more research, or go back to your team table and discuss, well, that fell down, or that didn't work, or that seems really weak, or this didn't suit the purpose because the animal jumped over the building or something, and then think about what's going to happen. Also, that situated meaning that the experiential learning, but also the systematic thinking we want to get to here. We've got a vision of what the end point's going to be, but we need to break it down into those smaller chunks to then get to that big picture, and that process will mean that constant reevaluation. And I discussed it earlier about people destroying, if they do decide to destroy other people's work, there is a real empathy with others and a respect for what's being built. Almost an awe sometimes, particularly if they're working in an environment where they're all together. So when I was working over in Wales, we had a whole class looking at putting a town together, and each group worked on a building along a street in the town. And we were trying to reconstruct a town in Wales as accurately as we could in miniature, but also the surrounding area and the roads and the valley going off in distance. And that didn't just create empathy within the class, it filtered out across the school. And then it ended up as a community project outside of the school, where we engaged with a local community of pensioners and what they remembered the area was like. And then they as pupils showed that pre-COVID to a group of pensioners to show them exactly what they created, and they could walk down the street as it was historically, but not as it was now, and go to, for instance, the old cinema, and they reconstructed the auditorium and the cinema internally. So there's massive scope for detail and depth of thinking here. It's not just shallow. The growth mindset is something, again, that is a really important strategy from the philosophy of people that designed it in the first place. It was always meant to be a environment where you just become part of that thought process, you become part of it, you're thinking like you're there. It's not that you just artificially know you're sitting in the classroom and you're there. People, they tend to get drawn in, they tend to imagine they're there, they tend to imagine they're really sucked into that period in time, or they're in the desert, and start to think like that, and in that wider, deeper thinking pays off. It also allows the pupils involved to be the center of the learning. One thing that you're going to have to accept as teachers using this product is that you are going to feel slightly de-skilled. That's not a bad thing, but you're also going to have to hand over some of that ownership to the pupils and become really comfortable with doing that. Now, probably the other time that happens is when you're delivering the coding and computing curriculum. Pupils tend to have more time to get dedicated to it. They get ahead of you. They won't always be behind where you are or what you've read up on. So I regularly say, when using Minecraft Education Edition, okay, stop, we'll have a mini plenary. Look what Simon's done over here. This is pretty much amazing, Simon, because this is online. I can call up their environment. I can sign in as them, or screen share across to the front, and then harness that knowledge, harness those skills that they've got, to then share with the rest of the class and drive the progress and learning forwards at the same time. If you want some further reading, the people on screen now have written some really good books that link into the philosophy behind Minecraft Education Edition. There's a dedicated team at Microsoft that are constantly working on this. It isn't just that Microsoft purchased Minecraft and they've thrown the Education Edition monocle upon it and they've left it. It isn't. There's a real active community, and also the certification I'm going to give you to become a certified MIE, and people that have gone on to become MIEs. There are people that are dedicated Minecraft mentors and MIEs that specialize in Minecraft Education Edition. So there's a massive community of support. So if you get stuck with something, you don't even have to Google around. You can go to the various portals, and I'll show you some of those links, where you can ask people that are doing this quite regularly, using Minecraft Education Edition more frequently than we have the opportunity to, maybe in school with curriculums to deliver. And they will come back to you with ways to achieve things, or ideas of how they've achieved something and how it might translate to your classroom. So there's lots of support out there. There's also those main people there to reference. Some of those books are really thought-provoking, and I would suggest that you have a read, particularly the first one by Carol. It's a really good read. So the technical setup is something, as I said at the beginning, that you're going to want to spend a bit of time ensuring that you get correct. Otherwise, the first impression for staff and for pupils is going to be that they will always behave the way. You are going to need an Office 365 education license to run Minecraft. So if you're running what's called A1 licensing, you can't have Minecraft Education Edition. You need to be on A3 licensing. Now, there is a monthly payment for that rolls into a 12-month subscription. It's not massively expensive, and certainly a lot cheaper than subscribing to most education platforms. Benefit would be, not only do you get Minecraft Education Edition, but you get the whole of Office 365 and the benefits that come with that, be it Teams, Sway, Forms, and so forth. But you will need to get that licensing sorted out. So if you're running on the free licensing, the A1 licensing from Microsoft, you'll need to upgrade some licenses in order to get in and get to Minecraft Education Edition. At the moment, the devices that are supported are the ones listed there. So quite obviously, because it's a Minecraft is owned by Microsoft, it's going to run on Windows 10. It doesn't run on Windows 7. So if you get to upgrade some machines, you will need to do that first. It will run quite happily on an Apple device on Mac OS. There's also a dedicated Education Edition app on iPad. At the moment, there isn't one on an Android tablet, so it will only work on Apple iPad. And Chrome OS was a recent addition that launched in autumn 2020. So there now is a Chromebook version you can install on Chrome OS, and that will run quite nicely on there. It needs to be an installed app. It will not run in the web browser. In order also, a word of warning, it is very processor and graphics card heavy. So I would say if you've got an i3 processor or one of the entry level processors in a laptop, your laptop is really going to feel it, and it's going to suck a lot of power. So make sure that you're plugged in. If you've got a dedicated graphics card, it helps, but not everyone does. So it will run without, but you will notice the strain on your laptop. If you want to get people collaborating together and into a environment where you've got a group of pupils working together, they need to be on the same version. So you can just go online. If you click for Minecraft Education Edition download, it will always take you to the latest version to download, and then you can make sure that that's installed on the devices across your network. If you get a variation of versions, again, it's going to be an experience that's not that pleasing to everyone, and people are going to go, oh, I can't get into that world. And more often than not, it's because they're running a different version. So making sure that that's done before you start teaching the lesson is really important. Believe me, when I first started using it, I didn't realize that, and I came up against it, and it floored me for a couple of lessons. Also, you need everyone on the same Wi-Fi network. So if you're doing this over distance learning, pupils can go into individual environments, but they won't be able to go into the same environment. So you need, for instance, the set of laptops to be on the same wireless network in school. If some were on the wireless network at school and some were on the individual wireless networks at home, then you won't be able to get them all into the same environment. So that's another really important point to make sure. Also, make sure where everyone is on the same channel. So the channels you can set actually inside Microsoft, but a bit like having channels when you tune in the radio. If you're not on the correct channel, you don't hear the radio station that you want to. Well, the same thing applies to Microsoft, so you need to make sure everyone's on the same channel. You will also need to go to your IT support, because there are some ports that need to be opened on your network. These ports are not designed to cause vulnerabilities for malicious attacks or anything like that, but they will be required to communicate with Minecraft servers. If you don't have those ports opened and checked in advance by your IT support, you will try to get people to online, and it was not possible to connect. So you make sure that those are checked in advance of anything else. So this really brings me on to making sure that you can now see what this looks like in reality. We'll dip into this today, but by no means will we cover everything. We've got some deeper dive Minecraft sessions that will come up in the new year, and those will enable you to learn a bit more about some of the aspects of maybe the coding element of Minecraft, although I'll show you where that is today. But we'll get you started on your journey, and what you need to make sure that you do is do all that prep work before you roll into the classroom. And you've also got things like Windows updates applied to Windows 10. So I'm just going to jump out of here. So what I've gone through is a lot of theory there. So while I swap screens, has anybody got any questions regarding what we've covered so far? Anybody want to unmute and ask a question at all? You can pop anything in the chat if not, if you like. No? Okay. So what we have here is the page that you'll get to after you've signed into Minecraft Education Edition. So after you've upgraded the licenses for the people that will be using Minecraft, and you can move licenses around different pupils if you can't afford to buy an upgrade on license for the whole school, you will log in with your Office 365 email address, your account that you would log in to get to Office 365 and things like Outlook email, put in the same password, and you'll come to a landing screen like this. You can set yourself up an avatar, so you would normally do that at the beginning. So there's me. If you want to change that, you can go in here. You can choose whether you're male, female. You can have different team avatars. You can change clothing. So there's quite a bit of scope to personalize. What I normally do to get that out of the system of people initially, I say, okay, you've got 5 minutes or whatever I can spare at the beginning. Fill your boots, pupils, go in there, choose what you want to look like. They always go in and they pick what they want to look like, and then that's out. And we say no more time wasted on avatars, because otherwise the danger is that they spend time going back in there faffing around with the way they look and not actually getting on with what you should do. You'll also see recently, if you've upgraded to the latest version, the Hour of Code challenges came in there. I'm not going to label on those majorly today, but what you've got are Hour of Code challenges. This year's Hour of Code challenge is around inclusion. So the Hour of Code is a global initiative to encourage pupils to code. You can take those worlds, they're pre-built. So if I click on one, you can read the lesson plans, or you can share a link if you want to host. But this is entirely focused around a world, but it's more of an intermediate. I would have said, although it says beginner, I went in and had a look. I would say it's beginner to intermediate than rather just beginner. Need a little bit of prior knowledge if you've used it before. So Hour of Code's there if you want to use Minecraft for Hour of Code activities. You can also go into settings when you first get in here, and it's really important to think about the people that are using it. I'm today using a mouse and a keyboard. You can go in and you can redefine all of the keys and how they're used to move you around in your environment. So by default, to move forwards and backwards, it's W and S. To move left and right, it's A and D. To jump, it's a single tap on the space bar, or a double tap if you want to go flying up in the air. And you can also use a mouse to move around at the same time, and you can use a scroll wheel on the mouse. If you've got touch-enabled devices, you can set the touch controls in there too. And then you've got options in here to maybe control the video and the feed coming through. So if you are somebody who's got a laptop that's struggling, there are things that you can do in here to switch off some of the advanced modes, to roll down the demand on the device, such as the processor or the graphics card, to make it more manageable. You've also got some global resources when you come in to buy them. Storage itself, it will keep online on your computer the worlds you've used, but it won't transfer them. So you can export worlds and then re-import them. One of the nirvanas that we're always requesting from the Minecraft education team is to have all of your worlds saved in the cloud. So regardless of which device you log into, those worlds are available. But currently, although you've got some elements in the cloud, such as your avatar when you're logged in, your worlds are saved locally. So you need to export them and import them, and you'll see how to do those in a little bit. You can also change languages in here. So if you're working with EAL pupils, you can move between the languages that are used. And the problem of getting access, because you have a different primary language to English, fades away, but you will need to show them where it is initially. So settings, there's lots in there to play around with, but also you've got accessibility settings in here where you can have read speech. You can also in here also enable things like the immersive reader that we've looked at in previous sessions for things like accessibility tools and also Teams. If we go into play, you'll be presented with these options. This is where you import if you're bringing in a world. So when you click the import button, it will look to your computer. You'll get a local window onto your computer, and you bring your world in that you would have already exported. If you want to join a world because you're working together, we'll show you how to generate codes, but someone in there will host, and that's what we mean about being on the same channel. You then give everyone else in your group or your class the elements that you're in. So you need to be in the same wireless network, and you press confirm, and then you'll be able to join that group activity to get multiple pupils into the same Minecraft world, or you can create a new world. Once you've created a new world, and I won't do that today because it's pretty blank, you've got your worlds under the My Worlds box, or you've got View Library. Now, View Library is where you've got pre-made content from the Minecraft education team, and there's quite a bit of scope in there for how you might want to use that. If we start first in lessons, lessons are split into curriculum subjects, and they're really useful for finding contextualized examples of where Minecraft Education Edition can link across. And sometimes it can be things like PSHE, visual, social, emotional. It might be that you're going to go into maths, for instance, and then it's unfortunately it's organized in American grades. But if you go in and out, you'll get a sense for which grades are. But grade 5 from memory is year 6, grade 4 is year 5, and grade 3 is year 4. So it scrolls back like that. But it gives you age-appropriate learning in there too, so you can see it from the ages that are applied. You can pick up maths lessons. So whether you're going to work out area, or you're going to work out something to do with number, it's always fine. There's something in there that you could probably pick up that's already been pre-made. In science, you can do things like periodic tables. There's the lesson that I stole for building the virtual cells. You could also go in and you can look at various additional lessons in there that are physics-based for forces and things like that. So lessons are something you can go and pick up. If you're stuck, you can always come in and you can go to the start here. And it's a good way if you're not quite sure as a teacher, but the pupils think they know it all, but they're not quite sure if they do know Minecraft Education Edition. You can go into there, have a play yourself in advance, but let them have a go at that for a half lesson just to familiarize. But you walking around will pick up quite a bit looking over shoulders. You additionally have build challenges that Microsoft pop in every single month. They're quite useful to come back to. So there was a build challenge that I've used quite a lot around area and volume. And quite often that one's quite useful when we do get to shape, but it might be that we're looking at castles or we've gone into space, and it gives you something like a blank launch pad there, and you can build your rocket to go on it. There's lots of different environments that you can go and pick up. These build challenges then are pretty prescriptive because they say exactly what the build challenge is expecting you to do. But again, it means you haven't got to come up with an idea. You haven't got to pre-build the resource. It's all there for you. The other thing that's useful is if you are just doing something, you need to go to a particular theme. You've got featured worlds, and featured worlds are great. So blocks of grass is a very plain environment. I'll probably show you a blocks of grass that I started building in. You've got things in there like here's 100 square. You've also got space. There's loads and loads of environments like that. But the other side of it is I quite often use biomes. So if we needed to go to a desert biome, forests, or we wanted an ocean, instead of going to wasting all that pointless time, we don't have it. It's lost learning. You bring up the biome and you set the activity for the pupils to undertake in the biome. I'll show you one that we did in the river biome relating to the bridges in just a bit. So there's lots and lots of pre-built content that's available there for you to go and pick up. Any questions on the pre-built content? No? All right, let's go back over to some of the worlds then. So if I go into my worlds, what I've got here locally on my machine are all the worlds that I've been using. So an example for you, let's go to, you can see I did the spaceship activity. Here we go at the top, one called Bracknell, and I'm going to go in and play it. If I was going to host it, this is where you host it. So press host, and it will then build a hosting environment for you. And it will then show you, so it will show you there that you are then hosting the environment. What you do is you give the hosting code to the people, and then the hosting code is up here. So it's a rail, an agent, an apple, and a sign. You can recycle that code if you want, and then it will tell you the number of people that are here. You'll also need to sometimes know your IP address and which port you're working on, but that code is the key thing to give other people. But remember, they need to be in the same wireless network, they need to be in the same version of Minecraft Education Edition as well. But then you can all get together and you can all work together, and that's exactly what we did for this environment. So we took the rivers environment, and if I just escape out of that, and I save and exit, and I save and exit out of there, and I come in as a single person instead of hosting, and I'm back into my worlds, and then to there. I'm just going to play it this time. So this is where I go if I want to come in and just play. You can then go in and work on your own as well if you want. So if you've got pupils at home and they're going through distance learning, you can get them to still work on their own, but they wouldn't be collaborative. So in here, if I turn around, one of the things it gives you in this world is you've got a street scene. So one of the things that we intended to do, we just ran out of time for, is we've got the path through the middle, we've got these plinths here in front, and then what I started to do was adapt this plinth. I put a wall in and some mossy hoods, but we could get each set of pupils building a house on their own plinth, which starts to build up this set of streets. What we decided to do over here before we went into that route was, if you go down the steps, you can see up there, we decided this valley needed some hollowing out. So we had one team for mining, and what they did is they built the valley and they extended it out, and they were my construction team. And if I go up in the air here but go forwards at the same time, we then took metal blocks and we also took some cobbled roadways, and what we did was we put in some scaffolding. We researched the fact that semicircles and beams, load-bearing beams on concrete plinths, give us strength. We then built a flat surface which we were going to extend into a viewpoint or a road. We weren't quite sure that was going to be for our town down here. And then if I just fall down a minute, we built it so that other groups could come back in. So once we finished this, we left signposts around these chalkboards saying welcome to Ironbridge. And from our research, we found the Ironbridge in Shropshire, and we decided that we would like our Ironbridge to be based upon that. So we built in the history element. We had maths going on here. We had all sorts of research skills for information, text, and English. You can see how we built for the hillside. So then that led to a discussion of, well, could we build railway track on here? And then how were railway tracks excavated through valleys? There was so much learning going on in the classroom, but not because I was leading it, just because the pupils were curious. And because they were curious, they wanted to know. So then some other pupils in our teams decided to go away and start researching. Well, what about this and what about that? And how would it have been possible for the Iron Bridge to be built? Where did they get the iron from? And that open curiosity really started to grow. So if I wanted to go back up, let's go up here to my house. I would say I want to construct my house a little bit. What I can do is I can go here. Now, I've got an agent, and agents can be used when we go to one of the more advanced sessions. Agents can be used to do some building for you. So instead of you having to place blocks like I'm about to show you manually here, what you can do is program an agent. So this is where the coding element comes in. I'll show you the coding now. So if I press the coding button, it will drop in Code Builder from inside Minecraft. So you can code in here, or you can code an agent individually. It could be block-based coding, and it's absolutely fine to start off there. So it links out to other products such as Tinker. Let's go to that one there. And it will then look a bit like Scratch and those other block-based coding programs, but it will also link out into more secondary-orientated environments. There's script-based, such as Python. And I'm just going to slide that in. What you will see is, I'm just going to go through that next. Okay. You drag your blocks in, but what you will get later on, this is the tutorial version, is all the blocks down the side like you do in Scratch. And what you can do then is then just have a free choice of how you build. We aren't going to labour the coding element today, but we might, if we've got time, look at how you program an agent to build walls. But it will be something like you load the agent with stone blocks, and you say move forward 10 paces, place a block each pace, turn right 90 degrees, move forward, and you would then go across as a pupil and you work out, okay, so how many blocks is that side going to be and how many blocks is that side? Well, I need more blocks there, so maybe it's 25 blocks along there and only 10 blocks along there, and you give this set of instructions or that algorithm to the agent, and the agent can do the build work for you. But today we're going to do the build work ourselves. So you'll notice at the bottom of the screen I've got a bar. I can move the white lines there, and it's things like stone bricks and so forth. Now we've got an equipment inventory, and on the side of the screen you'll see that I've got prompts that show me, and they're quite useful for you as a teacher, but also sometimes if people to using Minecraft at home. But you can get rid of those by hitting the H key. You can get them back again by using the H key, but I want to get into my equipment inventory. Now, unlike home-based Minecraft Education Edition, the version that you've got here has unlimited resources. So if I needed something, I just drop it down the bottom here and I can replace anything I like. And what I don't have to worry about is whether I'm going to run out of something. So I think here I've got mossy cobblestones. I've also got stone bricks, iron trapdoor, iron bars. Do you know what? I think I might just leave my equipment as it was. But if I needed to search, I might go, I would like iron. So I search for iron and I can then deduce down what I've got. Or I can, if I want, not search at all. And I can scroll through it. And I've got different tabs for materials up here, or construction elements in here. You could also put things like lanterns and torches and levers so that you pull a lever and a door opens. You've got things like liquids and solids. There's lots of scope what we can do. So it's also worth spending an evening, if you've got it to spare, just having a mess around in here and trying to understand what's available for you. But I tend to quite often search using the search tool or the microscope up there to find what I want. And then out of my all inventory that I've got at the bottom, I can pick up the ones that I want. And all I do is I drag it and release it, and it will then overwrite what I've got in there. Or if I drop it back here, it will go back into my inventory. So I'm just going to come out of that. So I select the thing I want by either scrolling backwards and forwards or choosing the number key. So I think I might want, I want that. I want stone bricks. And then all you got to do is place it. So you'll see that there's a square outline, and I will be in reach of my square outline, but I can then, wherever I get a square outline, whether it's on the side of another one or in between, and then I can quite quickly start building my walls. So here's the walls to my house. I need to go around here. Now, it might be a bit claustrophobic doing that on the floor. Do you know what? I'm probably best off going up in the air. So then I can start to build on top of my wall. But you will get used to using the keys to move around at the same time. And then you will be able to build it in. So I might have there a wall, and I might decide, you know what, now my wall, I would like to have a door somewhere. And it may be that I've placed some blocks and they just don't need to be there. So I'll make that a smaller wall, and I'll go over here and place some more blocks. And you're reevaluating constantly, because that creativity element, that on the hoof thinking, as well as that pre-planning work, I might decide that I wanted that there. But do you know what? I decided I wanted a doorway here, so I might decide I wanted a left click so I can smash my way through a doorway. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the inventory, and I'm going to look for a door. And what I think I'll do is, it's probably in keeping to have an oak door, so I'll put an oak door in and I'll throw that back. I also might want a lever to open the door. So I'm going to grab a lever. I'm going to put the lever in where the mossy cobblestones were and get rid of that. Come back out. So the first thing I'm going to do is pop a door in. So I pop the door in there. There's my door. Oh, I've messed up. I need some more building stones to get that. Well, do you know what? I'll go back and repair the building stones later, but I would like to have a lever to go next to it. So I think what I'll do is I'll place the lever there. So now if I pull the lever controls the door, and it's one of those things. Ooh, put an extra one in. The lever opens and shuts the door, but I've now got a gaping hole. So I'm going to go back into equipment. I can get rid of my door, but I might want something that signifies better that I've got a door there rather than just the same stone. So I might go and get some extra stone. I might have some sandstone this time. So I've dropped some sandstone in here, get rid of my door, and come back out again. And then what I can do, oh no, wrong one. Let me go across to the other one, getting carried away. That switch, get rid of that switch because I want that to control the door. But it might be then from the outside, that's a feature that we might say, look, it signifies there's a door there because we've got some sandstone around the outside. So the pupils could base that on historic building. They could look at, again, they could look at structures and strength of structures. You could do things like, well, how on earth do I get an archway in there? Well, you need to put some scaffolding in first, and that's great. But you might say they're going to be doing that, but unless I'm walking around as a teacher, well, how on earth do I evidence what's going on? How do I keep track of all those pupils in class? Well, there are ways to do that. You might have noticed down the equipment bar at the bottom, I've got a thing like a camera. So I can place a camera, and what I could do is I could get a picture of what I'm doing. So if I click that, the camera then snaps a screenshot of me, and there it's evidencing the building that I've built. I can also get different shots from different angles, but then I might want to put that into some sort of format. So if I go across one, I can then have what's called book and quill, and it is a digital book. And here I could go across to another page, to scroll over to another page, and it might be here that I want to type, we have constructed a building, and if I can type correctly this afternoon, building, and then I give some depth about why it's stone and why I've chosen certain designs. But then I may want to add something in regarding the picture to evidence it. So down the bottom, when you come to the edit button, you can press plus, and then you're going into here. But I think that one probably illustrates the door best. But then as a teacher, I can see the book and quill. But also, I said we've got immersive reader tools built in here, so I can press the immersive reader button, And from a pupil perspective, they may not be able to read the other pupils' work or the comments that were on those signs up on the top on the bridge. So what it will do is it will engage immersive reader mode, and it will take you away from the Minecraft world and also the Minecraft book, and it will bring it into immersive reader so that can be read for me. So page 1. Is there for me. There's of course all the other tools that we would have looked at in the accessibility session, where you can change it into other languages, you can change signs of fonts, you can change backgrounds to make it more accessible if you've got visual impairment. There's lots of scope there to use immersive reader, and it's peppered throughout Minecraft Education Edition. At the end of it all, you can sign it, and if you sign it, you must make sure you finish with your book, because once you've signed it, you can't go back and edit your book again. But what you can do then is export it as a PDF, and you could then get that PDF out as a pupil, and you could send that to your teacher, maybe drop it into your team channel in Teams, and then that would evidence what you have. You give a description to your teacher on the side as to the thinking behind how you met the success criteria or the progress you made with the brief that you had at the beginning, or you can do it to evidence it across a number of lessons to demonstrate the project as it's going along. So booking, quill and camera are really important. I think I'll jump out of this environment. And why I jump out of this environment? Has anyone got questions of what we covered? Not yet. Okay. I'll jump back across. So if I went back into my worlds, you can also construct from the beginning. So this is something called Blades of Grass when it comes up. And what you do in here is you start with just a blank empty environment. So here is a blank empty environment. I started with just some animals wandering around. What this does, instead of putting them into a predefined world, which sometimes can stifle creativity, you just want to give them a blank canvas and they pick what to do. So here was a building I decided to excavate down. I put some purple carpet in. I'm in the process of building a fence to have a ranch area. And then what you could decide to do is keep some animals. You could also do things like signpost for others. So over here is my agent again. But at the same time, you can have things like the notices, you can have the blackboards of various sizes, you could have steps in building for somebody else to come along, or the steps left to improve. You could also mine down, but remember that Minecraft environments are only 3 blocks deep, so you need to be sure that you're not going to go through the bottom. If you go through the bottom, you'll end up in the middle of nowhere and floating in space. So I'm going to finish off my fence here, and I think I'll move forward a little bit. And then what you could do is you could spawn some animals, and then those animals can be kept inside of your environment. So I'm going to go in there. That should finish it off. That's great. I'm going to go to the equipment inventory, and I am going to go to animals. And let's go to spawn. And what you've got here are little eggs, but they spawn different animals. You can see I'm going over the top. You could have all sorts of things. So it might be here, because I'm in quite a nature environment, I'm going to spawn cows. So I think what I'll do is I will overwrite the grass in this instance, and I come back out again. And then what I could do is I could choose the cow, which I think is number 5, and I can drop a cow in there. So now I've got a cow inside of my farm area. You can also have them wandering around out there. What you can do is you can interact with them in various ways. You can be cruel, so you can kill animals, but although we'd encourage people not to. But at the same time, you see how you can start to build up a set of activities that will then lend itself to you working where you don't have to do a lot of teaching in class, because you set up the scene, they've taken ownership of that learning, they've done the research for the project, and you'll find what happens is even some of your more challenging pupils will end up working quite readily with other pupils in this environment. And what you don't have to worry about so much is policing behavior in the classroom. What I find is that behavior issues fade away because they're so engrossed and they're so immersed in what they're doing here that they are just focused on getting it right or doing the best they can. And also striving for high standards against success criteria is something I also find, whereas if we're working on pencil and paper, they might suddenly cast it aside and decide that they're just not interested, or they're going to give up after trying to do the smallest amount. Something else where it applies to other subjects, because we said we look at cross-curricular links. So I picked this one up as one of the pre-built lessons, but I've used it many times in different ways. So it could be that you've got individual pupils dropping in here. It could be that you've also got groups of pupils in here. So on this side, you've got volume equals length times width times height. So you can work out volumes of these objects. It can be positive volumes, both negative volumes. So you're looking at a volume inside of a pool there. And what the pupil has to do is go to the board and edit the boards to write on the board the answer. And I normally encourage them to write their name afterwards and then get other pupils to go and check their answers to see if they're correct. So on that side, we've got volume, but on this side here, we've got area, where we're looking at the area of blocks in here, and we can work out length times width in blocks. And a similar way, they can put the answers on there. That's great. That's a good start. So that, and it's a fun way of looking at area or volume. But then what I ask them to do is clear these padding and version. You find that you get some quite interesting structures, but it does make the pupils start to think quite hard about how they're going to calculate the area. Something sometimes, and it takes quite a while for them to work out. And what you might find is you find pupils mining through the middle, but what they're trying to work out is how many blocks it is through the middle, and does that equal say on each side when they walk outside. An example of where that sort of deeper learning takes place, and it's not just the shallow. They love it as well, because they'll have done it on books, they'll have done it on squared paper many times, but what they won't have done is come into here and found out. If they're really stuck, they can also be quite self-sufficient, because there's a set of instructions up here and it tells you what to do. If you can't read that, what you can do again is engage the immersive reader tool, but you can also take it another step forward where you could code this, get this guy in here to code, and then you could use the coding for this avatar to build them for you rather than them building them themselves. So there's lots of extensions to learning. And depending on how okay, you've got your own, you've evaluated the ones that were given, what could you do to go one step further? Well, let's bring in some computing curriculum where we're doing a bit of maths, because you've completed all the maths this time and you can start looking at coding. But actually, surprise, surprise, you're going to need maths for creating your algorithm in coding. You're also going to need decoding skills to go back and revisit the algorithm and understand why it didn't build the second row of blocks on top of the first blocks and just started building another set on the floor, which quite commonly happens when you get to using this sort of environment. So that learning resilience comes through, and all those 6 principles that we spoke about at the beginning of this session will come back over and over and over. It isn't just something that's in Earth-based environments, whether I've got it in here or not, but you can also do things like go to the International Space Station. So I think I did a space station, or did I not go to space station? Come out of that, it's going to the library. I think it might have been monthly build challenges. So what you can do is you can go out into space and you can get into the International Space Station. You could build a new module on the International Space Station. Here it is, International Space Station. So you end up inside the International Space Station. So what we did here in science, we looked at space travel, we looked at research in space, and then we built a new research lab as an extension to the International Space Station. So we gradually did it over time. And what you've got here are 3-dimensional ways of going around, but the pupil then finds themselves not on a planet, but out in a environment where you can go through. So in it comes, lots of different levers to open up different parts of the modules, and people they'll find have adapted the blocks to build control consoles. You could go around that and carry on through. So this space station is vast, and you can go down into the bottom parts of the space station. I think this is where I extended and we added another module on down here, or you can go up again. So there's lots of different scope for how you might want to use this in cross-curricular subjects. Today is really about getting you started with the familiarity of the controls and understanding what you can potentially do both in your worlds or hosting other worlds. You can start hosting here from inside as well. But giving you a chance, or wherever you're from, do I need to do any prep work? Will it run straight away? Do I need to apply for some additional A3 licenses? Have we got all the licenses we need already? And then start trying it out. I would say, if nothing else, get your IT support team to assign you a license so you can at least start using it if you're not already on a license level that gives you permissions to go in and do this. Also, you might need to get people to install the Minecraft on the computers for the pupils or on your computer, and just spending that time to get it right, so the initial experience for staff and pupils is clean, it's crisp, they come in, it does what's expected, and there's no technical hitches, because it will put people off, especially if you've got staff where they find technology daunting. And it's something that they're a bit nervous about engaging with. You might have given them all the support and training in the world, but if they come to it and the first time it doesn't do what you've promised it will do, it will turn them off, and then you'll find it really hard to get them back into things. So the Minecraft environment there is a demo of what you've got, but really it's questions open for you at this point before I go back across to finish off in the presentation. Is there anything there from what I've shown you you've got questions over? No? Okay, I'll swap screens for you now. So the Minecraft Education Edition community is very, very proactive, and thing you'll find in the Minecraft Education Center that I mentioned earlier is you'll be able to undertake various levels of Minecraft accreditation. You can also become a Minecraft Education Edition mentor, and if that's something you're interested in, there is a community that will tell you how to get there. At the same time, those different levels of people are around already and actively supporting schools. So if you even wanted to get one to come and join your classroom, they will be DBS checked. You can find someone local in the UK, not someone from the other side of the world. They will support you in getting familiar with doing it in your classroom. You could even get them in to lead a lesson or you just observe. And I've seen that happen quite nicely in various schools across the UK. So don't forget to tap into the community. It's best if you do that rather than encouraging the pupils to do that, but you can. So as far as Minecraft is concerned in the Microsoft Education Center, building blocks of code is number one, is a beginner session, and I'd advise you to do that if you've joined today's session, you're just getting started. But you could also try a series of lessons. There's 8 lessons there about your Minecraft journey, and you start there at lesson 1 about why Minecraft, and you can work your way through, and it starts from the theories behind it. It's not there's more to read if you wish, but then it will take you into learning skills and how to do it there. There's also a link at the bottom there to go to the Minecraft Education Edition download page, but if you just search online for Minecraft Education Edition download, it will take you to that home page there anyway. So as far as the links to support you, there is a lot out there for you if you get going after this and you want to experiment. As I said, we'll be running some more advanced sessions next time after the Christmas break, and we'll be advertising those again on the online portal, the events page. From Turn It On, and also if you were Turn It On School, we'll be emailing those out so that you'll get the emails with where to sign up to those courses, and you'd be more than welcome to join me on one of those sessions. So what I will do